Welcome to the France 24 Observers. This show is based on our network of observers around the world. They're ordinary people who tell us what's going on where they are and send in photos and videos to document it. We check it all here in Paris and bring the best to you. We begin today in Iran, where President Ahmadinejad has celebrated the first anniversary of his controversial re-election. Thanks perhaps to a show of force by the security services, there were no big demonstrations, just a few isolated protests. So is the Green movement running out of steam? No, says our first observer, just rethinking their tactics. We head to Tehran with our observer Anusche, who runs a Facebook page about the protest movement.
Expectations for this day were great, at least among expatriates. What I had been expecting pretty much happened. There weren't any big mass demonstrations simply because the security apparatus was too strong. There were militia and security forces all over Tehran and other cities expecting people to come out and trying to crack down on them and scare them. But the universities were once again the centres of protests. We saw several videos from Sharif University and Tehran University where students were chanting. I don't actually think it's the end of the Green movement, in particular because it has been clear for a while that mass street protests aren't really a tactic that will succeed in the end. Announcing demonstrations in advance on particular days that are well known to the government will not work in the long run. And I'm quite sure the opposition has understood that. It's just that the movement needs to find other ways of voicing its dissent and engage in a new tactic.
Now to Ecuador, and a tradition that's been around for centuries but could be about to end. Our observer spent the day with the country's last remaining ice miner. We go to Riobamba in central Ecuador with Quentin Ceuppens.
We arrived at Baltazar's house at 5 in the morning. He was getting his mules ready. They were in a bad state. You could see their ribs, and their backs were bleeding from the weight of the ice they carry. Once the mules are ready, the caravan sets off. They go to an altitude of 5,000 meters, where the ice mines are, under the ground. You have to dig down 2 or 3 meters to get to the ice. First, you carve out a big block weighing 360 kilos, then cut it into 6 smaller blocks. They get loaded onto the mules and sold back in Riobamba, the city at the foot of the volcano, for just a few dollars. Baltazar Uscat Tanazaka is the last ice miner in Ecuador. He's the last representative of an age-old tradition. When he dies, the tradition will end.
We end today with the vuvuzela. If you've been watching the World Cup in South Africa, you'll know what that is. The blaring horn that's played throughout the matches by the South African fans. It drowns out everything else, and the players have been complaining. Our last observer has a solution. We head to Cape Town with Pedro Espi Sanchis, head of the Vuvuzela Orchestra.
They're just too loud. People aren't used to them. And their noise is completely chaotic. There's no rhythm. The vuvuzelas are so loud you can't even hear the fans singing. But I have a solution. You give the playing some structure. You start with a 1 blast, 1 note. Then you play 2 long notes, then 4 short ones. That gives you 7 notes. That's the right rhythm for 95% of songs the South African fans sing. The idea is that everyone would play together, the whole stadium. 10,000 vuvuzelas playing the same rhythm at the same time, in unison. It would be amazing.
That's it for this week. As always, you can find more reports on our website and find out how you can sign up to be an observer. See you next time.